Welcome. In this video, we're going to introduce cryptography. So, in previous videos, we've discussed coding theory. These two topics are quite similar. Both of the topics have a sender and a receiver team, and you're transmitting information. But in coding theory, you're trying to make sure the information gets through correctly. You're trying to make sure you detect any errors or correct any errors. In cryptography, you're trying to make sure that information gets through securely so that no one else sees it along the way. It's secure to just the sender and the receiver. So often, coding theory and cryptography are used together. You want both those things. You want to make sure that the message is sent both securely and correctly. So cryptography, our first definition, it's the practice of hiding information. There is a sender and receiver team, as we talked about, and there's also the kibitzer. So this person is the attacker of the message. So the plain text is what we call the original message from the sender. So the idea of calling it plain text instead of English is it doesn't necessarily have to be English. It could be anything that makes sense to the sender and receiver team. For our purposes in this course, we're going to be using English words and phrases to represent plain text for the most part. So the encoding function, what that does is takes this plain text, the stuff that's readable, and changes it into gibberish, something that's not readable. So the gibberish that we just talked about is called ciphertext. Now, together with an encoding function goes a decoding function, which would change the gibberish back into the original message, or change the ciphertext back into plain text. So if we want to look at an equation, if you plug in x to the encoding function, then you look at that result and plug that into the decoding function, it would take you right back to x wherever you started. So the sender would encode and the receiver would decode. And then finally, the kibitzer is someone trying to obtain this message, which we're trying to keep secret from the sender and receiver team, but the kibitzer does not get access to what the decoding function is, or at least originally does not have access to that. So let's draw a picture of all of this information. Let's start out with the sender. So the sender would be looking at plain text and say, oh, I'd like to send this away. So would exchange that plain text for ciphertext by plugging it into an encoding function. And then once that's done, the sender would send it off to the receiver. So the receiver would receive this ciphertext, something that they can't read, and then would like to change that into something that they can read. So they change it into plain text, and they do that with what we call the decoding function. So there's one more person in this picture that we should involve. The kibitzer. So the kibitzer is trying to attack the message along the way. So for our discussion of cryptography, the theory doesn't really go any deeper than this picture. We're just going to throw different encoding function ideas out there and the corresponding decoding function that goes with it, and maybe discuss if it's attackable or not, or how secure it might be. Okay, now, very often, the crypto systems that we're going to use are going to be done in mod 26. And we'll convert the remainders in mod 26 to the English letters in our alphabet, starting at A with 0, going all the way up to Z as 25. So let's look at our very first cipher. This one is called the Generalized Caesar's Code. And this is named after Julius Caesar, who apparently used this code. And it was a very simple code, maybe the first usage of cryptography that people ever did, or maybe at least the first one that's recorded in our history books. So Julius Caesar's idea was to take their alphabet and shift the letters 3 down the alphabet to make something that originally made sense into the gibberish that doesn't make any sense. And you might say, well, why didn't people just shift it 3 letters back and then get the original message? Well, if you've never thought of this idea before, if it's innovative to do this, maybe it did provide some sort of security in its time, approximately 2,000 years ago. It may have provided some sort of security. Now, when we say the generalized Caesar's code, we allow the shift to be whatever you like. You can shift it 25 letters down or however much you want. So that's what our k value is, how much we're shifting. So we take each letter and we shift it down the alphabet k in amount. And the decoding function, of course, to bring us back to where we were, we subtract the k. So what the kibitzer could do, if they felt like, oh, I think that the generalized Caesar's code might have been used to encode this gibberish, they could shift all of the letters until they noticed one, and that was sort of making the words come out as sensible things. So let's go through an example, and then I'll get you to try something on your own. So in example 1, we're supposing that our k value is 3. So this might be what Julius Caesar actually used originally with this idea. And we're going to encode the word let. So let's encode each one of these letters. We'll shift L 3 down the alphabet, so M, N, O. And then we'll shift E 3 down the alphabet, so F, G, H. And then we'll shift T 3 down the alphabet, so U, V, and W. So our encoded ciphertext here is OHW. So to play the role of the receiver, we would shift in the opposite direction. So for L, we would do I, J, K, L. And for W, we go 3 back, so T, U, V, W. So changing the ciphertext back to plain text gives us the word it. So now we'll play the role of the kibitzer. What the kibitzer could do is just continue shifting letters until they find something that makes sense. So let's shift some letters and see what we get. So D, E, F, or G, H, I. So reading across, maybe we don't see anything just yet. So we'll keep going. Maybe C, D, E, F, G. And then on the other side, we'd have F, G, H, I, J. Maybe I still don't see anything. The kibitzer's looking and looking and looking for a word. They don't find anything, but if they do one more shift, they would get B, E. So if we put this all together, we have a little bit of a quote here. We have let it be. Now you could argue that maybe the kibitzer had noticed a word already, and there could be other 2-letter words, but hopefully in the context of whatever the message might be, the kibitzer is able to figure it out, or at least on behalf of the kibitzer. And maybe some Canadian humor for you if the kibitzer thought, oh, A is a word, A. So let it A. Well, even for someone with poor grammar, that doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense. So the kibitzer would think, okay, let it be would make more sense. Okay, so that covers you for the generalized Caesar's code. I would encourage you to maybe try this on your own. There's some examples on the next page in some different group settings where the theme is some famous quotes that are out there. You could try to decode one of the quotes. Maybe if you have a partner or something, you could each attack part of it, or maybe just do one word to get a feel for it. Now in the next video, we'll discuss an extension along this idea with the linear code. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.